very much for this invitation and for your heartbreaking introduction. We are very happy to be here and to be hosted so warm-hearted. Also, thank you very much for the amazing food. Yeah, we are coming from Grandhotel Cosmopolis in Augsburg, Germany, but more we see Cosmopolis not as a location or a place in a country with borders. No, we see it as a place, we see it as a form of social reality. So, this is Susa, I am Sibyl, and we are working in the field of conceptual development. We are more in different locations and different rhythms. This is what we do there. So we start with a short, we try to keep it short, with a short history of the house to give you an idea how this project looks like, how it grew up and what is happening there.
Yeah. Hello, very warm hello to all of you. Very nice that we are here. So, impossible is nothing. This is more or less the slogan that we were choosing and that we needed. Because in the beginning, when we start, in the city of Augsburg, to have this idea, everybody came up to us and said, hey, this is a total utopia. Will never going to be happen here. And the city of Augsburg is nearly the same size, a little bit smaller than Brno. It's 2,000 years old, so it has a little bit of conservative and traditional structure. Also, there are more than 40% of migrants living there. And in this center of the city, so we are talking about total center, is this building. It belongs to the Diakonie, which is the social enterprise of the Protestant Church. And a friend of ours was running around and he was actually looking for temporary art space. And then he found this house. It was abandoned for 6 years. And he went to the owners and he said, hey, what do you do with this house? Can we use it for a temporary art space? And then the Diakonie said, no, it's not possible because we are planning to make a refugee accommodation here with the government. But we have slightly problems with the neighbors, because this neighborhood is like a really gentrified area. And then the friend of mine sat together with some others, and then they were thinking about, okay, is there a possibility to combine these needs? And slowly, this concept grew in their minds. And then they spoke to the Diakonie, and then there was a very brave man. He's the boss of the Diakonie, and he said, sounds interesting. It also, they were financially in a not so good situation at that moment, maybe this also helped, but he was really brave. He had the courage to say, okay, it sounds interesting, and then my friend said, can we have the key? And that was it. He gave them the key, and then our friend invited us, and he said, hey, we have this new house, this new idea, and then very quickly 10, 20 artists were there, and were like thinking about it, and developing this concept. And in the very beginning, so this is the house, and the structure of the house from the raw concept of the beginning. You see it has it's 2,800 square meters, and it has a 6th-floor tower and this side building. And the yellow area is where the government is having the accommodation for the refugees. And the blue on top, it used to be our storage until like some weeks ago. Now we turned it into a seminar room, and this is going to be our new academy space. And then we have 2 floors of hotel, and the red is the ateliers and the art studios, and in the basement we also have a restaurant, and we have a bar in the lobby in the ground floor. So this was the idea. The very idea in the beginning was to mix everything and to have like one room refugee accommodation and one room art studio and next to it a hotel room. But then the government said, no way, we won't do it, and today we are very happy that this did not happen, because then the refugees would not have any safe space. So this is the situation of the house. The Diakonie, they are the owners of the house, and the government and the Grandhotel Cosmopolis are the tenants. We share this space, so half is the government, half is ours. We are a non-profit organization, and the government is responsible for the accommodation of the refugees. So what did we do in the beginning? Before this whole thing started, when it was just a raw idea, we opened up the first room. It's the entrance, it's our lobby, and we put some furniture in there, and we invited the neighbors. And we said, hey, we want to know what is your opinion about this? Why do you have maybe resentments against the refugees and the foreigners? And why are you so angry? And then we found out, very interesting, the neighbors were not racists. Actually, we did not find really racist comments, but they were pissed because nobody ever asked them what is going to be in their neighborhood. So they wanted to be part in this planning, and they said, hey, now we moved here, we want to spend our evening of our life here, and now the refugees come, nobody ever asked us. And so for 1.5 years, we were talking to them. We invited them for coffee, we had like discussions with them, we did events and readings, and slowly our team also grew, and we had at that time already refugees in the team. They were not accommodated there by the government, but they were artists and friends. And so this all started the whole process, and then the media became aware of it, and then we got some push-up from the backup from the media, which really helped. And all this increased the pressure of the government, because in the beginning the government was not so happy about this idea that we somehow involved in their business. Yeah, so this is the first things, how we invited the neighbors, and then we did guided tours through the house, and we showed the city, the citizens of Augsburg, what we are planning. And we were listening to them, and we also took back in their opinions. And after 1.5 years of really hard negotiations, we got the permission for the reusage of the house. And this is the brain of the Grandhotel, which gets the permission, and the house owners and the people from the city. And after 1.5 years, we got green light and okay, go, and realized the project. Then we started to rebuild the house. 6 floors. We did it all, most of it was done by ourselves. It was also a money aspect, because then later on we would have cheaper rent. This is our construction plan. Every day we had such a plan in the elevator. It was the plan of the day, and this is really how we made the whole construction site of the 6-door house. Yeah, this is how it looked. And also at that time we had already some people. This is our friend from Afghanistan. She was doing like the design of the bathroom, and we already started to involve everybody to everything. In July 2013, after nearly 2 years, the refugees arrived. At this moment, we had put in there maybe 150 hours of volunteer work to, well, 150,000 hours of volunteer work to do this. And we were all really naive. I mean, we were a core of 20 people, like most of us activists and artists. We had no experience with refugee accommodations. And when they arrived, they moved in with 30 children, which was also a big surprise for us. We never planned the Grandhotel as a refugee project. For us, always the Grandhotel Cosmopolis, it's a laboratory for society, we call it. We are not there, we are not a refugee project. We are working with the Central European society and their mindset, and also the situation of this really fast and ongoing and growing migration aspect in our lives today. And we also don't do integration, because we don't know who should integrate into what. So the house was ready then, and maybe...
Here you can see one of the finished hotel rooms. The hotel rooms have the same concept like the refugee accommodation. Every room is for 2 persons and the bathroom is on the floor. Every hotel room is made with a budget of 300 euros and is made with upcycling stuff or donations like material or furniture or whatever. So there is another hotel room. In total there are 12 hotel rooms for about 40 guests in total. I give you a quick overview about what is going on in the house, which has these 6 floors and is quite difficult also if you are in the house to see what happens on all the floors. There happens, of course, a lot and sometimes less, and not everybody is always involved, but there's always the possibility to get involved. Besides this core team of about 10 to 20 people, there are more or less like 50 people, volunteers involved. These are volunteers from the city or artists in residence or inhabitants of the refugee accommodation, or also hotel guests or people who just pass by and say hello, and then we say we need some help and they renovate the kitchen. So here you can see like the cleaning team. Then we have this lobby bar, which is running 7 days a week from 8 o'clock in the morning till night. So it's a really open place. There is daily lunch at 1 o'clock from Monday to Friday. There is a beauty salon. There is a bicycle workshop. There is a lot of handcrafts going on. This is now not in our house, but we also have a handcraft workshop. Yeah. Another example of workshop work. This is a dome combined with plants. And there are a lot of events in our house, so it's also a cultural place. This shows, for example, the concert of a Berlin conceptual jazz group, which combined for the concert with a hotelier who is joining the jam sessions of the Grandhotel. So it often happens that if they do some rehearsal and people pass by, and then suddenly it's a new group coming up and the band changes within 1 day. Maybe for the events I can say something about the money system or the entrance system of Grandhotel. All the events are for free, so we always try to have a very easy access for everybody to join. Events like concerts are based on donations. But we also have, for example, the prices in the bar or the prices for a hotel room. We started with the pay as much as you can, and then we realized that people are somehow not so, maybe a little bit confused or not sure how much shall I give, or that just this question of how much is it worth for you is maybe too big. So we started with a price system that has like 3 steps. So we say, listen, step number 1 is like what you should pay because it's what it costs to us. Step 2 is reality price, what you would pay normally in another cafe of the city, for example. And step 3 is future. It means that you don't pay money for having a coffee, it means that you pay money to support the whole structure we have, to support the project. So to step out of this one-on-one, so I have one night costs this and then you pay this. No, you can also pay €1,000 for one night in a hostel room because you see that it's needed in some non-profit spaces of the house. What we also do a lot is taking part in stuff that is not in the house, like for example today here, or we do exhibitions. This is part of an exhibition combined with the art prize. Yes, so we do presentations. This is one in Berlin at the Academy of Art. And what we really do a lot is talking. So these talking rounds are maybe sometimes one of the biggest part of what is going on in this house. So we are here to talk about community, and also we thought about what are community tools that we found out, what builds communities. So we think that the community just begins if people feel connected and have a personal relationship, that the community is connected to a very personal connection with each other, and also if an exchange starts. And so in this kind of community topics, mostly the one that comes up first is language topic. So how to deal with this variety.
Okay, I think it's a little bit hard to see because in the middle is someone sitting with a Bavarian traditional dirndl, and next to her are some Muslim women. And this is it's a really quite normal situation in our house. And what looks so normal takes normally a long time to grow together. And it's not that it simply goes together. Hey, we open up a house and we make this setting and then everything works out fine. It's not like this at all. What we learned first is that the language barrier is a really hard barrier. And we try to find out, okay, what can we do to break this? Because how can we talk about cooperation and collaboration on eye level in a culturally so diverse group? I mean, eye levels, for me, it's anyway a little bit hard, because if I have a passport that allows me to travel in 155 countries in the world without visa, and someone else must be in this house. I choose to be there, but someone else must be in this house. I mean, where is the eye level? So what we created is a space and a reality where we try at least to keep the eye level. Even if outside of our doors it might not be like this, and we are really aware of it. So the first thing that we developed were all kind of non-verbal workshops. We had a specialist from peace work from Israel-Palestinian context, and he worked for a long time. This workshop, it's called Going Beyond My Borders, which is clear for me also today. I have to go beyond my borders also to create something like this. Not only refugees have to somehow adopt to my reality, I have to adopt to their reality also. And also I have to adopt my language. So we don't give German courses in Grandhotel. We help with German language if someone needs help. But we don't give German courses. We cooperate a lot with institutions who give German courses, but we don't do it. So we help we are very aware that the people want to learn this, but we don't do it. We specialized in non-verbal communication, and then we tried any communication because we are going for a communication of the heart. We want to have this really strong contact and connection, and this is done by on a really personal level, and this we somehow try to achieve with everything. And we don't say, I only do it if you speak German. So Roy was working with the refugees because the people who come in our house have no status. They have no right to stay, they have no perspective. Sometimes they are super traumatized. So just to bring them out or to make someone speak and tell something about them, it's not so easy. For us it's easy, okay, we say, hey, we are open group and we speak here freely, but most of the people are not used to it. So this Going Beyond My Border is really a workshop that is once a week normally. And this is to break this ice, to break my personal ice, to break the ice of the group. And it was quite successful for us. And it's a lot with body work and physical work involved in it. And if these things go well, if we arrange good with each other, if we go along good with each other, then maybe after, this is here now 4 years, that he's with us. He himself is now a filmmaker. He came from Afghanistan. He did not speak any German language. He is one of the people who are traumatized and then totally re-traumatized by the asylum process, and today he's a filmmaker. He makes a movie with other young refugees about autoaggression. It's a quite hard movie, I think. It's not so easy, but it also shows the process and this long-term work that is involved in it. And this is also what we learned very quickly. It's not only the language and make it possible somehow, the communication, but it's also the time. The time that we need to grow together and to make this trans-cultural idea coming alive. We cannot just write one word and say, transcultural, and tomorrow we have it. If we create a new culture together, if we want to have this new culture together, we need to be aware it might need a long time till this works out.
So one big topic of this kind of community is that you have like different biographies, experiences, traumas, ages, phases of life, abilities at the same time, in the same room, and how to deal with it. So one is really to create platforms of encounter with a very easy access, like drinking a coffee, hotel guest, refugee, just like normal, creating a normal situation, like coffee, drinking coffee, or using the same staircase, which is also kind of almost I don't know, actually another place where the same staircase is for a refugee accommodation or for a hotel guest. So we have really easy platforms for these encounters.
I just, sorry to interrupt, but it's coming just on my mind. For example, one day we had a guest coming in and she was pulling her suitcase and she thought she's landing in the Grandhotel. I mean, in a real Grandhotel. And she was so shocked when she entered the house and saw where she is. So to bring these, we try to find things to bring this together.
Yeah, so as you see, like a hotel lobby can, if it's made like this, it can be a platform of encounter. So as I said, it's drinking a coffee, it's just walking up the stairs, there is, for example, a weekly jam session where people just meet via making some music together. There is this daily lounge where everybody can join. It's working in the hotel, which is very easy to work there, or do common artistic projects. This is one kitchen situation which maybe shows quite well the diversity we are facing. So you have, for example, a 90-year-old grandfather visiting his activist grandson in the Grandhotel. There's a mother just coming from a totally destroyed war zone with her daughter, baking some bread. There is a vegan activist. There is a grandmother. There is a guy who thinks a meal without meat is only for losers. So it really, like, everything comes together there. But at the end, like, for example, cooking together makes a meal. So there is a result made by everybody and enjoyed by other people. Maybe to show an aspect of how culture, like trans culture, can grow, or what it means to have an enrichment through all this diversity, and what we try is to create like a new future common culture. So what happens if all this comes together, and if we try to find a common expression. I show you as an example some pictures from this year's Brecht Festival. So Bertolt Brecht, the writer, he comes from Augsburg, and there is a festival, like an official city festival every year. And the Grandhotel was asked to make one evening of this, so it's an official city event that we were asked for. Also with free entry for everybody, and it was very well accepted by the society. There were a lot of guests coming, and it was, I mean, if you're a group of, you even don't know in the beginning, maybe 5 people start to say, yeah, let's do this event, but in the end it was about like 30 people involved, and some of them just arrived the same day with other ideas. So it's somehow always like a very vivid thing, and it was announced, because if you do an official event, you have to somehow to announce it, and they write the program half a year before and what to write. And in the program there was something written, I don't know, which means more or less everything, but there was written there will be performance music and dinner. So we had to face, for example, I was responsible with my friend Rasha for the dinner, and it was okay, how to deal with the situation and what is going on. And it was in this time that East Ghouta in Syria was under this heavy siege. So Rasha, which made the dinner with me, she was totally involved in this topic, and she heard about a woman, which you maybe can see, she's on this picture on the wall. It's a woman in a little car, and she is living in Ghouta and doing like underground feeding for the people. So still in this situation, on this day she was cooking and delivering food, and Rasha was in contact with her, and we had like some spoken words from her, and so we made like this extension to Ghouta, like to connect this, because this woman was speaking like to us and saying, hey, hello, unfortunately I can't be with you because I'm under siege, and I'm sure you have I wish you a pleasant evening. And so it was about to us to cook at her place. And this was a way that we found to deal with this situation. So we were cooking instead of this woman and giving out the soup. This is Rasha and me. And we just made kind of a donation dinner out of the moment, which worked really well. So it was developed within 2 days, and it was the best solution we could find to make a dinner come true. We made it very fast, so just one soup and then people stood up, then there was a performance, then next round, so we could feed up 120 people with the soup. We took some donations which we gave back to this woman. Yeah, and within this soup going on, there was one performance after another. Like, for example, a little boxing fight, because Brecht was also a boxer, so that was the connection. And Sia, who is living at the Grandhotel, he is the Swabian box champion already for the third time, although he is only allowed to live there now for a few weeks, which is bizarre. Yeah, and there was also lots of music, so I can't give you all the program. It was about 7-hour program, and I was really surprised that people stayed. But yeah, it was a really full evening, and there was also a class of pupils from the city who made a workshop in a Grandhotel, and at the end they presented their little song. So this is just really a small part of what can come out if this community starts to act together. And also what it makes for an impact to the city society. So this is one elderly woman just watching this box fight.
We cooperate with, we try to cooperate with everybody in the city. So we're not going against something, and I think that's a big plus for our project, that we always try to create positive alternatives. So we try to come up with ideas. Okay, how can we do? How can we arrange? And we don't spend time on fighting against something. We don't have the time for it. This is a scenery when, from the very beginning, we hijacked, we entered the cultural Rat, oh God, what is it called? Council, the cultural council in Augsburg, so it's very official to create an awareness of the deportation that was planned for, I think, around 20 Chechens with their children. And we took them and we went into the council and said, hey, look, these are the people, we are not talking about cases and numbers, these are the people, you want to deport them, so what can we do now about it? Later we found better methods and ideas, because whenever the politicians are not so okay with our actions, we don't have to take the risk and the reactions. It will be on the refugees. So today we have someone from the Grandhotel team working in the city council. Someone from us is working there, and we exchange. We also exchange with the Office of Peace. Augsburg has an Office of Peace because it's the city of peace. And we are very close working together with them. So we try to work with the social department and also with the cultural department very, very closely. We also cooperate with the police. We built a long relationship with the police because it's very difficult. We try to gather an understanding in what situation they are in. If they have to deport someone, we asked them, we were talking to them. Because once we acted against a deportation, and then the family was not deported, but actually it was not such a super success. It just did not happen. But then we found out, okay, there's a lot of friction going on, and also a lot of pressure for the people from the other side, which is the police or the city government, who has to decide in these moments. And now we try to find better solutions if the people have to leave the country, because some of them have to leave the country, even in Germany. We see, okay, what can we do in the places where they are going to, how can we intermediate in there. And installation that we did in the theater, we put the refugees who are also always very afraid of the police in the police uniforms and let them feel this power cloth, and also have the audience of Augsburg, of the theater, being confronted with some other people in their normal police picture image. We also cooperate and collaborate a lot with other institutions, so all kind of local institutions, other people who are working with refugees, but also with big association, funding associations, or this is a thing that we did with the Goethe Institute in Prague, in the National Gallery in Prague. We were discussing about the social responsibility of art, so we try to bring these aspects in wherever we can and talk to the people. And also we talk a lot. We normally, Sibyl showed before the picture where one of our refugee friends is speaking and holding a lecture. Normally we don't come in this setting. Normally we are not talking about the refugees, but they are here with us, but because of the border it was not possible to bring someone in this time to check. That's it. We try to cooperate as much as we can, and we try to connect to all kind of institutions and to everybody in the city government. It's not always easy, but we try.
And apart from the connection to the society, so like the biggest aim, I would say, is sustainability, what we're working on. How to create a future for our planet and for every being on our planet, and how to create this. And so there are different tools, of course. This is for an example for awareness for resources, like doing upcycling, creating products out of used products, having a common result. Also a huge topic is health. So we have a little own network of health professionals which offers help for people in need for free, because to get some healthy stuff is sometimes super hard. And also therapies. This is this upcycling workshop. There are some results of this upcycling workshop. What we also think is a very sustainable thing is the transfer and sharing of knowledge. I mean, of course, we do it within us. It happens in every moment that we speak to each other or act together. But we also give it to the outside, like giving workshops, holding lectures. This is from a cooking class that took part in a week that was called Tasty Peace. That was a whole week program of food and future food, and how we can have a healthy planet together, and also what happens, how to create a new common healthy food for everybody, which is a huge topic in the house. So we have this at least vegetarian, almost vegan kitchen, where we try to create food that is really including everybody, like every religion, which is vegan food doing. We are cooking with organic stuff, and which comes from the neighborhood, from a farmer. So it's really this approach to connect with the local healthy ground and go very far with the recipes, but still in this context there happens a lot of new stuff. So, for example, Rana, coming from Syria, preparing a kind of traditional cake, but adapted to local stuff and veganized. So, so I think it's really up to create like our common future food. And this is very interesting, what happens in this field. According to food, we also have a food sharing station in the house, which is like an open refrigerator for everybody of the city. So if you have some food left, you can put it in. If you need some food, you take it out. It's just also very easy access and very well working thing. I know that we have the most busy refrigerator of all food sharing stations in Augsburg. Then what I mentioned before, this topic of how to deal with the costs and the money and this pricing system, that is also a part of this sustainability of future society thoughts we have. This is one plate out of this mix it all and go for the future. And we would like to close with this picture to speak about like the social sustainability. On this picture you can see Iman. It's now 3 years old, this picture. Iman has spent half of her childhood in the Grandhotel. She comes from a Chechen family, which is still in an unclear status. She lives there now for 6 years, and she started with Sophie, which is in the background, and she's a theater journalist, and they started to give out a magazine. This was the very first. Now it's like a magazine that comes out maybe 4 times a year, and so she's one of the 2 editors of this magazine. And she found
she's going to Waldorf school now, to anthroposophic school, which is also quite interesting that some people in the house are coming closer to what is actually, in their opinion, an alternative lifestyle. For us, we think about future sustainability, but for them it might be just a kind of alternative thing that they don't understand. But now Iman, she grows really strong in it, and she says, okay, I want to have a different life for me and also for my family for the future. She goes to Waldorf school and she grows up in a total different attitude and also total different, what we call Haltung, in a mindset for her future. So we think that this picture for us shows most of what is possible now.
So this is how we close our speech.
This presentation.
Yeah. And we wanted to ask if you have like some understanding questions, and if not, we have some topics that we would like you to share with us.
We can answer all questions now that you have.
Okay, so if there is any question here, you can ask now, and then we can continue with... Did I understand correctly that you have still something prepared?
No, we just have some things that are occupying our mind in the moment, so we would share with you and discuss a little bit with you.
Okay, so you have your questions. Okay, so any questions in the public?
Just maybe if all refugees are long-term stay, or...
We need the interpreter to hear you.
Okay, just if all refugees are a long-term stay, or they are just somebody 1-2 months, or they really live there.
It's totally unpredictable. Totally, we don't have anything to do with the distribution of the people to the Grandhotel. So some people are in the house since we opened. Some people are come and then they're maybe lucky and they are in a procedure and in 2 months it's over and then they leave again. Rarely. We had people who came to our house from another place. We were going through the asylum procedure for 21 years. I mean, the longest was 21 years. I was so shocked. So this is what Sibyl tried to explain to you. It's totally unpredictable when we do programs with people or projects with people. We do not know. We work with you today, but we do not know if you're there tomorrow, or how do you feel tomorrow. Maybe you're not feeling well, and then you won't be able to work with us. For example, once I invited a woman from Ukraine to an art project, and I tried to explain to her. I had an interpreter, and then she was looking at me and she said, "You know what? My husband is somewhere in Syria, I even don't know where. Here is a letter of deportation in front of me, and your art project doesn't interest me at all." So we are facing these realities, and we never know who is here, who is going to be here, how long. As we try to explain, we try to arrange very well with the local officials, and so that the people who have to leave or who are in insecure state can be treated the nicest way possible.
I have two questions. Maybe you said it. How many refugees you have in the house?
We have place for 65 refugees. The government part of the house has place for 65 refugees. Yeah.
And the second is, if you have their hotel people for night or so, they eat in the same like the same food, or is it they also prepare it, or it's somehow they have different kitchen? Or
Yeah. They are living on 3 floors, and on each floor they have their own kitchen, so they can eat with us, or they can cook for their own. For example, a lot of families who come, they want to have a normal life as possible, which is quite insane to call it normal to be in a lager. I mean, even if the Grandhotel is an asylum deluxe, it's a lager. It's an accommodation. People are forced to live there, so the families, they cook mostly for themselves. They want to have their most normal atmosphere, most normal situation. But many of the people who are alone and single, they like to eat with us, and also to have, because we become something like a family then.
Hotel guests. And the hotel guests?
And the hotel guests. The hotel guests can eat with us if they want.
First, thank you very much for your presentation, because it's really inspiring. And since I don't think society here is prepared for such a project, so we still have some steps to be taken, I think we should know there is some goal we can head to. And this is one of a big inspiration for me, for example. I have 2 questions, in fact. First one is, how did you raise the money in the beginning? I mean, like, how did you pay for the construction of the building and all the stuff around? And the second one is, how did you work with the neighborhood? Because that's what you said in the beginning, that the neighborhood is pretty, let's say, like lower income families, as far as I understand. Or no. Hi. Oh, sorry. And then, what tools do you use to communicate, or how do you involve them, or even what mistakes you made, for example, or how do you deal with that? Thank you.
So for the first question, how do we pay all this? Did we start to pay all this, and how do we still pay all this after 7 years? In the first half years, we paid everything out of our own pocket. Not really pocket, not in money, but we lived there, we moved in the house, we got donations for food, that's how we ate. And we worked for free, because we just wanted to see, okay, is it working? Can we really realize this project here in town? Because Augsburg is really traditional. We never thought they would let us do it. And then, when it was clear that we would do the project, we started going for funding. So in the first 2 years, let's say, we got a lot of donations because so many people were happy to help us, I think, and happy to support a project like this. It was also before 2015, because then in 2016 everything changed. And from 2013 on we had big fundings. We had the Robert Bosch Foundation helping us, and also the Bundeskulturstiftung, which is the big cultural funding in Germany. And we could pay with that money. We got all together in 2015 we got maybe 250,000. But by then we were working. There were maybe 40 people working there. So you can imagine what this means. And then Robert Bosch Foundation was helping us 1 more year to set a better organizational structure. And then we cut the fundings ourselves, because we found out, okay, with every funding there come new tasks. And this house and this project is so big already, and we did not know how to follow and how to fulfill new projects, new ideas, and how to bring all the time something new if we have something ongoing. So in the moment we pay all what we can pay by our own income. By the hotel, by the bar, by the events we're doing, which is mostly donation-based. But we try it like this now. We said, okay, let's stop the funding for a moment. It's too big for us, and let's see if we can do this. And we are not responsible for the refugees, so we are only responsible for ourselves. That means some of the people get paid from the work in the Grandhotel, some work outside and only work part-time now in the Grandhotel. Some bridge it somehow by families to help them or partners to help them. Some go and say, I'm unemployed, and spend their time in the Grandhotel. We have many different models, and it was not so easy for the last 2 years. And for the neighborhood. So in the beginning we invited them, and then we did a lot of events with them, like cooking for them, drinking coffee with them, having discussions with them. Later on we had high schools involved who were constantly contacting to the neighborhood. We work a lot with the universities, and they were like asking them, okay, how do you feel? Then we made a really clever thing. Well, it was not clever, but it was a really well-working thing. We made a festival in the neighborhood where we did not invite them, we involved them all. We said, please open up your garden, open up your basement, be part of it, and everybody came, and it was working so well. We did not show pictures today, but I think there were about 10,000 people. For us it was also like, whoa. And then I think with this festival we had a really good contact to the neighborhood. And today they come over, sometimes they eat there, sometimes they have a coffee. Everything is slowing down a little bit now, and it's not so hyper anymore. But we have a really good contact. We have only one neighbor, he wants us to disappear. He wants the historical image of the street being rebuilt. I don't know what it means.
Only one neighbor.
Yeah, but
one person out of 10,000.
Sometimes it's enough.
Any more questions? Yeah, because I have also one question.
Thank you. Hey, I just wanted to ask if you have some international volunteers. I don't know if I'm interested to come and do some work, if it's some possibility.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have international volunteers. We have a cooperation with France. So all the time someone from France is in our house. We take international volunteers from everywhere, so you could come. If you are an intern because you're a student, it might be difficult because the regulations in Germany became so strict this year. It depends in which field you're studying. If you want to come, you have to stay at least for 3 months. Also, the same is for artists in residence. If we work together with artists in residence, it's always we are interested in long-term relationships. Because it's so difficult if someone comes for 2 weeks to explain everything, and then this person is out again. And some of the people think, I come and I work with the refugees. It's not going like this, because maybe they don't want to speak to you in the first 2 weeks. So to build up this, to have this trust building and all that takes a little bit more time. So we have a lot of international volunteers, international guests, international friends. We call them all friends, because we don't distinguish so much between these things. And we are very welcome, and the longer you stay, the more welcome.
So at least 2 years, yeah? Well, I wanted to say that I really like your concept. I want to say that we don't work with refugees, we don't do integration. It's really interesting concept. That's what I take from your presentation, from your concept. It's like integration is happening, maybe. You put 2 coffees, you put 2 people together, and you create normal situations where they normally meet and talk spontaneously, and you don't kind of say, okay, now you have to integrate with this person, and now you'll be integrated. So it's really nice how you put it. And my question is related to what I saw in the picture. I saw a cycle, and you said that you are talking and talking and talking a lot. This is something we do also in NESEHNUTÍ. And I was just curious how you manage to talk. You know, how you manage to make decisions together, because I don't know if you know, but we are a flat organization in NESEHNUTÍ, so we talk a lot. And I wonder how the talking is going on in your organization, in your project.
No, I mean, it's really not an easy thing at all, but I think it developed, and we have some specialists also in like non-violent communication. We have some rules. We also try to give some time limits, but still this never-ending discussion happens. But it's quite, it's developing, and it's really trying to focus and to be clear, and if there are like emotional stuff is coming up, to put it in another place. This is always what we try, not only to fight, just to talk about, and if there is the time to fight, to make the fight somewhere else.
If we have a house plenum, for example, where everybody is invited, we have different plenums. We have something which is like the whole house can come. Everybody, also neighbors, also whoever is there. We have up to 7 languages. We have simultaneous interpretation then for little groups. It's quite slow, and we keep it very simple and up to 1 or 2 topics. Then we have a weekly council, where the people who work make decisions or not. Depends how much is said or not. So this can also be very slow. We changed the process of decision making for 1 year now, because 2 years ago we wanted to really enforce power sharing, so that people who come from the next generation or from the refugee side would be part of the management, and like the management and running the Grandhotel. It was not possible, it was too early. Yeah. in many aspects it did not work out really well. So this year we're going to try and make a new approach. In between, the decisions were made by the board of the association because it was too slow, and we were losing also a lot of energy in this process. So a lot of interpretation, a lot of patience, a lot of time, and heavy topics, only one topic. So I think this is how we communicate.
So if there are no more questions now, we have still like around 15 minutes until the end of the presentation, so you can ask your questions now, or I don't know exactly what you are prepared, but we still have like 15 minutes about.
So in the moment, we are thinking a lot about what is work of the future and what is the value of work of the future. And we would like to discuss this with you because, for example, when we come and we do a project together or we design something, maybe we have someone from the office working there, and maybe we have someone who's taking care of the hotel or making a meal. And these are things that are totally easily to understand. But then also sometimes we have people in there who keep a quiet atmosphere, because it's very needed if people are under stress all the time. Or we have people with high resilience who can take a lot of stress and still make a joke. Or we have people who bring in who have clever ideas or whatever. And then in the end, something is coming out and we think about, okay, how can we take care that everybody gets supplied? So what is the values that we share? What is the values that we think this is work? And would you think that we should arrange it in the future?
Yeah, how to measure activities. What's your experience with it? Because I mean, to answer to 20 emails, I can see, but like creating a nice atmosphere where everybody feels welcome is also an action which has no time, for example. And how to, what's your experience with this? How to measure impact? Yeah.
And also, what are the values, for example? Values. What is valuable? What is valuable in work?
And who to pay for what?
Too many questions. Would like us to answer the spontaneous?
This was exactly my question. Like, this is the question that I'm dealing with on an everyday basis. Maybe not now, but whenever I work. Because I'm also dealing with foreigners or with people that are, for example, volunteers. So they come into this like completely new environment. And then you explain to your current members or current volunteers that they need to feel this person at home. But this is like very, I think, very difficult process. Like this person has to have this personality to like really outreach to this new person and then make him feel at home and do this like quick rounds. It seems like it's so unimportant, but actually it's crucial for this whole process of things working. So I would like to ask this question as well, because like I have tried several times to explain this to my colleagues, and then it never works. And then I end up doing those things, and then I don't have time to continue with the program, etc., etc.
I do understand you very well. Because, for example, I try to explain this to foundations, to get fundings for this. Because we say, okay, the personal relationships and the personal contact is so important, and we need to spend so much time in this. And we need to deepen it and to improve it, and it might take 2 years, and I cannot tell you what comes out in the end. And how to, because we are talking about a society in the future, but we are still thinking in the same terms. We are still thinking about, okay, it should function like this, we need to be productive or effective, and so. But some things are simply not productive, or not productive the way we know it. And how do we evaluate this?
We actually, in our organization, we right now hired a person whose part-time job, who's their only part-time job, and his main task is to bring the people together and to create new opportunities, and then to feel everybody at ease. We also have a happiness management team, which is ridiculous. It serves on because our organization is mainly volunteer-based, so it's based on volunteer basis. But these people, their main responsibility is to create happiness within the team, because we understand that the value of people want to work together. When people want to work together, then we can actually balance this huge disadvantage that our organization is volunteer-based, and then we don't earn money, or we earn but our organization is volunteer-based, but we have this paid position that is actually the biggest amount of money that the person receives that is within our organization. So it's actually already happening. I'm not sure, he's there only 3 months, so I'm not sure how it's going to work, but we'll see. I also see the value in this, and I think that the people in the future will see it as well.
So I'm not going to answer a question either, but I have a story. I used to work many years in an NGO, and now I work for the municipality in the city of Brno, and I deal with integration projects for migrants. And currently we are having these social innovation projects on implementing intercultural work within public institutions. And I have 5 new colleagues who are themselves migrants or have experience, maybe they are second generation, or they themselves are migrants, of these mixed identities. And one colleague of mine is actually a previous volunteer in Dorotka's organization. And she is herself is a refugee from Syria, and she's been living, I don't know, for 4 or 5 years in Brno now. And when she came, and she's, in fact, she has this mixed origin. She's partly Czech and partly Syrian. And she started in Dorotka's organization, just making small things, and maybe also learning a lot about Czech environment, values and everything, and communicating Arabic or Syrian values, and she's Muslim herself, so it was just a small, how would you measure that she was working with this lady? And later on, we started to cooperate with Dorotka. It was last year in a project where a municipality was the holder and Dorotka's organization was the partner. We were just making some small community activities. And then we got this project on social innovations, and I was like, I need somebody to be working at the municipality for the people speaking Arabic in Brno. And then I met her. I mean, not Dorotka, but Karin, her colleague who is Syrian. And I started to speak, and I started to watch her, and she was just helping Arabic people in Brno. So I just came to her to propose her this job. And so from the beginning of this year, she's working at the municipality, helping people. And a few days ago, she came to me and she told me, I met And when she started to work there was a lot of women, especially Arabic women in the mosque, supporting her, telling her, you know, we really like, we are here for you, we are so proud of you, so in case you need something. And for me, she was just, not just like I really liked her, but I have different perspective myself. I was happy to find somebody to work with this community, but I'm still like focused on goals of the project, so I have completely different perspective. But then she came to me a few days ago, and I'm still like stressed, you know, we have this a lot of like goals we have to fulfill to prove that this is valuable, and we have also the questions how to evaluate, how to measure the impact, how to measure the quality of life. And also these changes, this take a long time, we have only 2 years. So. And then she came to me a few days ago and she told me, you know, there is a woman, she's also from Syria, she approached me a few days ago and she told me, you know what, Karin, you changed the life of Arabic people in Brno. Because now we feel supported. We know we have somebody to be there for us. And this is something, and she will never measure it because she raised her competencies and she made the contacts. Ah, she's also almost crying. But you know, you can't measure what happens next because then the people just they step further and they just go somewhere and they start to use the competencies and the contacts they made, and they maybe 1 or more years somewhere they change something else. And you know what? If we are successful with this project, maybe we influence the nature of integration policies in Czech Republic also. So it's like you cannot measure this within like 1-2 years, and you cannot follow. Maybe you can manage to follow these people within next 10 years, but it's like you cannot count with the changes they will be capable of making. But this is something I think you started that, and now she's in different level and she's making different changes, and maybe I don't know what happens in next years. So.
I think in this case I would point again like also on our pricing system, because I think this is quite connecting to it because there is so much priceless stuff that is going on, but still there is money needed to feed people and give them a home. And I think really like working on this awareness of sharing and giving is very important to make clear, yeah, that it's not I want a chair and I give you 20 euro and now it's mine. You know, really to step over this and to create this awareness of a much bigger like universe of money and values, which can be spread more evenly. Yeah, and I think if you, yeah, really this like selling situation of selling a coffee but making clear, hey, it's not a coffee that you get, it's just investing in the future of our society, actually. And to raise this awareness and to step out of this mini one-on-one thing, which is not going on never ever, because also if you sell a coffee there is a farmer in Nicaragua involved, and so yeah, to open up this like money discussion, which I think is in NGOs very difficult because money is so everybody's so afraid of it, and if you point on it, you're the capitalist or whatever. Yeah, I really think, for me, this is very crucial point to go on this priceless stuff and to create kind of a money flow that is bigger than buying. Yeah, we have another 3 minutes.
Thank you. You're so self-timing. Thank you. So 3 more minutes and maybe last answer or maybe last question from your side. Because I have a feeling we just asked questions back. Anybody else? Or maybe some comments also, not necessarily questions or answers, but some comments or some reflections you have you would like to share with others. you are all waiting still for some input or for some like for some more information.
Yeah, I think for today it's enough. So it's good to have some time to relax the brain and not only to think all the time. Yeah, if someone, we have little flyers here, if you need a contact or anything, you can take it. Now, I would like to really thank you for your attention and for the time you spent with us now.
Thank you for